Joining me this morning is the former secretary to the Abia state government, Chief Ralph Egbu. And of course, he's a regular on the program. Chief, good morning to you. Welcome to the platform again, right here on Flu 94.9 FM.
Mike, thank you. Thank you.
All right, good to have you join us. Chief, you were once a chief press secretary to an executive governor. So when it comes to broadcasts of such magnitude, we can say it's a familiar terrain for you. Now, Chief, let us examine the spirit of the speech, of that particular speech. I know you listened to the president. If you were Mr. President's speechwriter on the night, what would you have added to that 13-minute long broadcast?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. As a chief press secretary, monitoring, seeing how the speech goes, I want to be very basic. Because like I keep saying on this program, I would like to react to them, but I call endpoint react at the product level of minding the process. Now, the president, already known.
All right, we need to adjust the connection. Seems we have issues with the connection there to get across to Chief again. It is still the platform right here on Flow 94.9 FM. And of course, we're analyzing and also dissecting the president's speech, looking at the body language of the president and looking at some of the highlights of that particular speech. Chief, can you hear me now? Hello, Chief. Hello. All right, we've got issues with the connection. Now, while acknowledging that the choice to demonstrate peacefully is a fundamental right of citizens as enshrined in Section 40 of the Constitution, the president, however, noted that the right to protest also imposes on the demonstrators the responsibility to respect the rights of their other citizens and the necessity to operate within the law. The protesters had made 5 demands, which including releasing all arrested protesters, justice and compensation for families of the victims, the creation of an independent body to oversee the prosecution of officers, psychological evaluation of disbanded officers before redeployment, and the increase of police officers' salaries. And according to the president, the 5-point demands have been carefully evaluated. One of the first steps taken within the first week of the nationwide protest was the immediate scrapping of the controversial unit, the SARS, which is at the heart of the protest. And in addition to this, the president in that address said measures have been put in place to address other demands. And of course, according to him, the dissolution of the unit was already in line with our commitment to the implementation of extensive police reforms. Now, a lot is happening concerning that. If you look at the social media, the reaction of the public. Okay, we have a Chief back online now. Hello, Chief.
Hello.
Okay, great. Welcome back. We had issues with the connection. Now, I was asking you, it's a familiar terrain for you. Of course, let's examine the spirit of that speech. If you were Mr. President's speechwriter on that night, what would you have added to the 13-minute longer broadcast?
Yes, I wanted to bring in, let me start from the foundation quickly.
Okay? Yes.
The delay is not good. You see, time and value go together. So he stayed too long in an event where Nigerians and youths, very able youths, lost their lives. He stayed too late and had to be begged, was a very bad one. So the degree of attention and importance that would have been attached to this outing was obviously lost. So the issue of routine and style ought to be improved, and that is why it's always there. Now, what will I have added? Now, every outing of the executive, especially communication-wise, must have a core message.
Okay.
It must have a core message. Now, this broadcast was not about state of the nation. No, it's not an independence speech. It's not a stewardship address. It's a response to a crisis of protesting youths that subsequently escalated into violent reaction, leading to unfortunate killing and death. So the core message ought to be empathy. There ought to be plenty of empathy. There was supposed to be a carefully extended condolence to everyone, not restricted to the police. It ought to show that every life matters, and that as a government, the sanctity of life is cherished across the land. So, but he went general in terms of killing, was silent on the particular case that have become of concern to us in Nigeria and of course the international community, which is the Lekki killing. But generously mentioned the security agents, particularly the police. That removed a lot from that address. It was supposed to look at the demand of those people. Yes, he has spoken informally before, where he accepted to review things. This would have been the crescendo, given the ugly outcome and then the reaction trailing it. He ought to have dwelt in a more specific manner with those intended solutions. So veering off to trader money and power and all those things for now, seemingly to approve his ventures in terms of helping the youth, well, may correct some points, but he detracted a lot, and that is why people have said after listening to the speech, they became speechless. He ought to have galvanized the youth. In fact, it was time to use the youth to rebuild Nigeria. Assured them, like he has said, your message has resonated very loud and clear. That is good. Then follow up. Tell them, you know, the age differences, that. We are going to do fundamental things to bring you into the scheme of things. We understand your plight. We understand even your vision. Nigeria has become your own. So the language was too strong, like that of a military, even though protest is constitutionally allowed. But we want to tell you that if it continues in the manner it is continuing, it will not be tolerated. That is military. A government can still be strong without necessarily being combative. And the atmosphere needed to be loosened up and not to. He said, even the actions we took, it was like we were pushed because it made us appear as if we are weak. That is not a presidential language.
I was going to take you on that particular line of the statement that about being weak. I don't know what you make of that also.
I mean, that is a presidential, any executive speech should not be remorseful. To be apologetic is different, especially on a occasion like this, but to be remorseful as if there is an afterthought rubbishes the entire concept of even coming up to want to talk to the people. It's as if you didn't carefully think out their solutions, and even doing things with dispatch has become a crime. And for those of us who follow the Nigerian experiment, you see that is the position of the Northerners. The Northerners say you have left staff, you didn't consult. And in a general atmosphere where you have a near national revolt and revulsion in some aspects of style.
Speech
was very detractive.
The speech took long time to come. Should it have been the case when Nigeria was in the eye of the storm? And if yes, what should have been the message of the president to the protesting youth when the protest was initially peaceful before hoodlums took over the protest?
Yes, it took so long in coming. And again, I have said this issue of wanting to prepare, both at the state level and at the federal level, as if making a speech, you want to present one emperor. I mean, we should do away with it. If you watch the Americans or the British, there is nothing wrong with the governor just passing and then bumps into the place and say, I've heard what is happening and it is distasteful to my soul and we're going to do everything to stop it. Another 3 hours, his closing work, he said, I have dispatched my team to see whether we can have a contact with the leaders. Whatever is the issue must be resolved. We cannot allow a situation where the lives of our youth will be toyed with. This riot will not stand, or this protest will not stand. It will end, and I'm sure it will end on a peaceful note. You see, leaders must be inspiring. You don't wait for one big microphone and everything. I have said it. In Nigeria today, we are beginning to abuse the concept of brokers. Brokers should be it's like the last weapon, joker, on a very terrible. Leaders should learn to speak informally. The man goes in, for some time, they say he was like he wasn't well. And every time there is a gap in terms of communicating with your people, rumors, deadly rumors, capable of destabilizing the society will take. If he had informally, maybe he's going home, the press will always be there. It can be arranged by a creative information manager. And you put the media people around his path, and he will say, I am aware of what is happening in Lagos. And I'm calling my commanders immediately in the next 30 minutes. They will be seeing me. What I'm hearing or what they intend to do, I don't support. So, proactiveness.
Now,
Yes.
many Nigerians have condemned that speech, that it didn't touch the problems that it should have addressed, and of course, it lacks empathy and also sympathy, just like you mentioned this morning. But
that is what I'm saying.
A paragraph. I'm going to read out a paragraph. I don't know what you make of that line. All these executed in the name of End SARS protest. I am indeed deeply pained that innocent lives have been lost. These strategies are uncalled for and unnecessary. Those lines are according to President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday. Now, many persons that are in support of this speech came out and said, what exactly do Nigerians want, even after that particular line? That line also had shown the sympathy and the empathy needed in the message.
No, I said I have told you that every core utterance and outing of the chief executive must have a core message.
Okay.
The whole encapsulation of this outing should have been about empathy. It should have been of a positive, a possible, possible condolence visit by top government officials, efforts to, like the Lagos guy did, efforts to identify if truly people were wounded and killed. Where are they? These are citizens. The life of everyone, including even the criminal, should matter. We are talking life.
Okay.
In a country. So those will read this and say, okay, he didn't mention Lekki at all. And yet we say people died. International reports say over 12 persons died. So it should be of concern that, look, I get conflicting reports, but I'm dispatching my team to get me first-hand information, including names and so of those wounded and so on. And wherever they are, government will take care. Meanwhile, what they have said, I have acceded to. And if they want more action, they will see more action in the next 1 month, in the next 2 weeks, in the next 1 week.
All right, Chief, it appears like there is a disconnection or apparent lack of trust from the people on the government, hence the youth's continued occupation of the streets despite promise to meet their demands. Why do we have such situation? It's as a result of years of promise and fail, outlandish promises, and in the end, don't you even worry that we spend billions every year but I worry, even as enlightened as I am, that we will do budgets running to billions and we are still looking for roads. We are still looking for educational institutions that can rank among the best in the world. It is difficult to find places, including Abuja, where government pump water to residencies. That is what it should be. So, years of this, and so whatever you say now, they begin to wonder. And that is why we say, given that it is a new generation that is coming, whether you like it or not, the dynamics of politics in Nigeria will be changed by the event of NSAS protest. Because a new generation is coming up to say, we want to take back Nigeria. It wouldn't end here. So, when he mentioned it ought to have been followed with clear vision of what can be done on the interim, and then you begin. It's not enough to say you dissolve. And then even when they say they dissolve, they spoiled it again by
announcing a new formation near barely 2 days after. So when did you conceptualize it? What are the philosophical underpinnings for the new body? How did you come by sewing new uniforms? Okay? So things don't work that way. It's time our leaders will sit down and begin to wear their thinking caps and get able heads. When you say you dissolve SAR, you give time, you say, okay, we are planning the formation, it will be a new force, it will be a new unit, look at what they were doing, look at how they will be operating. Somebody said just on television this morning, Atedo Peters, somebody, Ruben Abati, he said he was coming and he saw soldiers. And in spite of coffee in Lagos, he said they were civil. He said they went down like normal human beings and said, good morning, sir. Who are you? He said, we are media chiefs. He said, okay, please go, keep going. So they were extremely civil. These are the things the boys are talking about. And these are the things a government that is amenable, a government that is philosophically sound, philosophically driven. This is a government with force. Those are the kind of things you can say, because you don't just come and say reform. That is ambiguous. When you say reform, you show you are in control. You give a little specific of what we are expecting. So when you said SARS will go, 2 days after you say you have created one, and we are seeing new uniform. So between what time did you sew new uniform? So what was the intent? So okay. It is also the act.
I want to also, Chief Egbu, just a moment. It is still the platform right here on Flow 94.9 FM, the Flow of God's Own State. We take a look at critical issues as it affect our dear nation, Nigeria. And this morning, we're doing the analysis of the president's nationwide broadcast yesterday. The first response by Mr. President to after days of the EndSARS protest. Now, I want us to take a look at the president's body language as far as the international community is concerned. I'm going to read the line where the president addressed interference. In fact, you will agree with me, we've had response by international body condemning what is happening in Nigeria, especially the Lekki massacre. Now, the president said to our neighbors in particular, and members of the international community, many of whom have expressed concern about the ongoing development in Nigeria, we thank you and urge you all to seek to know all the facts available before taking a position or rushing to judgment and making hasty pronouncements. I don't know what you make of that language.
First of all, we should be ashamed that we have come to a level where a country like Ghana, led by the president, is it Akufo, yes. And then the ex-president, Madam Ellen of Liberia,
Johnson Sirleaf.
Johnson was educating us on how to conduct ourselves and our affairs. I mean, that shows you that something. It's a huge dislocation in the land. If Ghana and Liberia will become those calling us to order, that is first. Now, responding in that way shows that the president must take another look at the team of his aides, between the media managers and speech writer. Their language has tended to border, revolve around the call it the rudimentary. First, in terms of power protocol, those kind of issues, it's an indication of the pressure. If you look at the speeches from comments from Britain and America, now Ghana, and you see, and you even commented yesterday, you can see the amount of pressure coming. But in power protocol, these are not things you throw to the public. If you have misgivings, you have their phones, you can call them, say, come, I can see you are hasty in your reactions, but you can give me more time to explain. But coming to TV as if I'm quarreling with Mike Oni and saying next time ask me. Even more mature people will not talk that way. Even more mature people. So you can see that he needs to reorganize that department and bring in men with some measure of. I'm surprised that Gambari is there. I don't know whether, as a chief of staff, you should be able to read some of these key addresses and ask some intellectual advice. Those are not issues for the public places, but you can use the paragraph to say what has been carried, what has been put out there about you may not be a correct reflection but you think you can do your best to keep explaining. But
Well,
to say,
these are some of the issues, according to that script, that the president termed fake news. According to a paragraph now, the spreading of deliberate falsehood and misinformation through the social media, in particular, that this government is oblivious to the pains and plight of the citizens, is a ploy to mislead the unwary within rather, and outside Nigeria into unfair judgment and disruptive behavior rather. So
that is why I started from the foundation. You didn't ask me, and I I touched on witness, leadership witness, always withdrawing. And I've told you that I am advocating for a new system where leaders, governors, chairmen, if they go to work, presidents will learn to, even while going into office. It's not a new development. We should watch Americans and the British people or even France, where you can always be talking, I know that today in Abia, this was impossible, but I want to assure you, leaders will begin, because when you talk, first, so-called fake news becomes irrelevant. People were rioting for nearly 2 weeks now.
Yes.
There was no proper information. As I'm talking to you, Army has not told us who invaded Lekki. I'm even asking, supposing it were to be fake soldiers. You mean fake soldiers carrying AK-44 and our security system for over 5 days cannot say who they are? I mean, come on, my brother. So when you leave it now, we fill the gap. By now they ought to tell us, even though there's plenty of evidence, and then when they put out the evidence, an army officer came out from Lagos or Mata saying, you can't mention my name. I only went there as a rescue mission. That means genuine soldiers went there. Now somebody is telling us, I'm not sure. You see, it is time we begin to talk, and government must lead in telling the truth. Whenever government leads in propaganda, like we keep saying, on his behavior, now the basis for a sound society is destroyed. So he ought to have been there telling us. He has not told us. He didn't even mention the Lekki. He didn't say he's investigating. So what would the rumor, including social media, do? To keep quiet? Of course, we are human beings who ask questions. So when there is a vacuum, and those who are supposed to fill it refuse to fill it, like air, something must fill it. Air abhors vacuum. So I'm insisting that our leaders must learn to talk and to talk to the people. They're always running. I don't know what is pursuing them. It should be delightsome to them. It's part of democracy.
Okay.
To open up at all times.
Chief, I want to digress. I want to digress a bit from the president's speech now. Are you surprised at the reawakening of the consciousness of our youths?
No, come again.
I'm talking about the consciousness of the youth now to issues, critical issues in the country. Initially, the youths are not speaking. They've not been speaking at this particular on issues on governance, issues on economy. But right now, it looks like there is this new wave of consciousness.
Consciousness.
Yes.
I have said it. There's nothing new. It's nothing new. It was the youth who shaped independent struggles. Go and check it. All those Mokugo Koyes, so many of them in labor then, they were under 22.
Now the same youths are complaining that the older generation are the cause of what we're suffering now, are the cause of the problem that we have now.
Nobody. They relax. The only thing I will admit that the preceding generation did is that they allow so much acculturation. All this TV came, phone came, our youth began to think that life is something you go by, snapping your fingers. That is just it. When we were in the university, we were clearly alongside professional courses, we were being taught nationalism, to know when imperialism would be stopped, to know that you have to build the economy, to know that you have to be disciplined and foresighted because you could be a leader. But suddenly it snapped. Everybody wanted money. Nobody wanted to look at the organization of structure. So they use everyone. Before you leave school, you're calculating how much you want to know, even without working. So, but suddenly, contradictions of a society will always knock sense into people. And rightly, it's knocking sense. There is massive unemployment. You come out 10 years. Then the process is already bastardized. Nobody advertises for for job position. So it's choking. Mediocrity is taking over, and the result of mediocrity is what we see: dilapidated facilities, no light. So even on your own, you cannot do anything. So we must thank God they're waking up. This is their generation, and I want to believe that with their high learning, these guys are well educated. Give them that. So, but the government will have a role. It's like power not properly channeled. It can result in abuse. Government must also come and begin to reshape them, telling them these are the kind of visions you must carry. You can pursue this. You can do that.
It is surprising. It is surprising, Chief, that we've been divided in the past through religious line, through ethnic line, and unfortunately, this is also coming up. If you've been following the trend on the social media, some persons have been tying this struggle by the youths towards that line again. I don't know what will be your immediate reaction to that.
My reaction is that centrifugal forces will always be there. Men of limited ability and means. So they will always hold on to primordial factors like religion, but gradually it will go off. If I told you 1 year ago or 5 years ago, say a time will come when a significant portion of the youth will say, I'm ready to die, and for good. You won't accept. So those forces will be at play there. You know, even as we are talking rotation, sometimes we will begin to say we will not see the benefit, that we want to run a merit-driven. Let the best of us begin to do things. So, but first of all, the way to solve a problem, like it has come like a consciousness, is to first embrace it and begin to tackle the problem. Enlightenment alone can tackle those. As fine men, look at what the youth did. Excellent guys from music, excellent guys from the movie, excellent guys in engineering. Gradually, it's true they said they have no leadership, but after this now, they should begin to govern the same way they did, begin to galvanize themselves. I have said it. In America, there's what is called the Young Americans Party. The young men came and had a different vision of what America should be. And they felt that the older people were doing enough economically. They should conquer the world, conquer the Atlantic. And by the first election, they failed. They only got few people into the night. And those people began to speak to them. And later they won the presidency.
All right.
So let them begin to put themselves across everywhere and say we are interested in certain key positions, and then with an agenda.
All right, Chief.
It's just that they will allow themselves to be used. They should cease being used as dogs and henchmen for deadly people in society. Let them come clear and stand in their different laws, in their different families.
All right.
And then say this is who we want for House of Reps. This is who we want for House. Then this is who we want for governor. Money or no money. And then you begin gradually, those primordial factors will begin to die a natural death. They will be there initially.
I would have loved to continue this conversation, but we need to get reactions from the listener. I do appreciate the conversation we've had this morning, and of course your contributions on the platform.
Thank you,
morning, Chief.